recording. Okay, guys, I have Shaqir Hussyin with me. And, so one of the greatest things about Shaq, honestly, that I've known him for so long. Like when I got into this industry, I was like this broke guy trying to make money. I was struggling hard. And here was a guy that was making millions of dollars easily. Okay, he was selling traffic packages for like $12,000, $13,000. And I was just like, okay, how is this guy doing it? Like, what kind of a magician is this guy? And here's a quick backstory, right? And I was telling him the story. So there was this company called Empower Network. Okay, so it was a network marketing company. I was getting started. I didn't know what to do, so I got into network marketing. Because everyone was like, "Make fight
Like
that."
everyone does.
Dude, I mean, I was watching this video about Vic Fryhouse.
Yeah.
The guy has like made 710K in 28 days or something. I'm like, you know what? I'll get into this. I was 14 by the. I'm gonna get into this company. I'll make $1 million by the end of the year. I'll buy a Lambo. I'll just chill. It'll just take me 2 months. I'll get rich overnight. Unfortunately, it didn't work out like that, right? Because once I got in, I didn't even know what the fuck to do. And anyway, so I got into the company, right? And then I go back to my back office and I'm like, who's my sponsor? Because in these companies, you got sponsors and stuff like that. So it had the name Shaqir Hussyin in it. And I never heard of the guy. Like I just got started in the industry. I didn't know who he was. So I go to this friend of mine and I'm like, okay, dude, look, I got the sponsor called Shaqir. Do you know this guy? And it's a friend of mine called Keith. Keith comes back and he's like, oh, Shaq is a beast, man. You don't know Shaq. He was on the stage. Look, let me show you a picture. Shows me a picture. Shaqir is on the stage getting a check for $167,000. Like,
Oh, you remember the amount?
yeah, dude, I was inspired. Like for me, that was like such a huge amount, right? And I'm like, okay, well, how is this guy even doing it? Now, which is exactly what I wanted to interview you too, because for me, I feel like now we're in the whole ClickFunnels culture. Everyone's like, oh, ClickFunnels to Comma Club winner, and multiple of these to Comma Club winners have given me testimonials too. But I feel like Empower Network was sort of that starting point for me, and the Empower Network era was just huge. If people think ClickFunnels era is huge, you got to look at Empower Network era. The hype was extremely huge.
Yeah. There was a few companies like that. They had like, one had like, Empower Network had like 200,000 customers. There was another company, they got shut down. They had like 400 or 500,000 customers. So, these things come and go. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing I really learned from you, honestly, is that I remember 5 years ago, I was on your website, right, which was shakirhussain.com back then. Now it's shakir.com. And I remember going to the coaching section and you had 3 coaching packages. See, I remember the details too because I learned from it. You had 3 coaching packages. You had a 1-hour call, which was $997. You had come stay like a 2-day boot camp or something of that sort, and that was like $18,000. And there was another package. I don't remember exactly what that was. And I gotta say, man, when I looked at that, I'm like, I didn't even. For me at that point, this was 6 years ago. I was 16, I think. I didn't even know people are actually selling that sort of stuff. So I want to know about you, dude. How did you get into this business? How did you really sort of crack the code? Because you didn't come from a rich background either, did you?
No, far from it. So I got started when I was 21 years old. I have actually never had a real job. So I've like never had a real like office job or a 9 to 5. Before that, I was selling stuff on eBay, all of the stuff I was doing, door-to-door knocking, going to, neighbors' houses, finding out what kind of stuff, trash that they have in their backyard, in their garage. And I would say, hey, can I take a photo? And they'd say like, what is this worth? And I'd say, one man's trash is another man's treasure. That was my opening line. Mm-hmm. And they'd be like, what? And I'd be like, listen, I'm a commission-based person only. Okay, there's no cost. And I would eat that cost, it would be like £16 or £25 or whatever to list something on eBay, sell it. And I would sell it and I'd make more money than all of my friends that would be going to these tiny little jobs, in a shoe shop or a game shop or whatever. So very quickly I realized, okay, I should not be trading my hours for money. I got that very, very early. I should it's not necessarily hard work, because these guys work harder than me. And I was actually just telling Aaron, I'm Asian, and brown people tend to live with their parents. And I think I stayed with my parents until I made my first $10 million, which was like when I was 25 or 26 years old. So this is a long time ago. And he was just laughing. He's saying, yeah, you didn't move out. And I was like, no, dude, brown people, we don't move out. We just stay with their parents.
Right.
So I got started, properly internet marketing, 21 years old. I went to a conference. I saw an Indian guy get on stage showing how he's making $100,000 a day. And for me, I was like, man, if you show me how to make $100,000 a year, I'm in. You don't need to show me $100,000 a day. And this guy was like logging into his account, showing like real live money. And I remember just thinking, like, I'm 21 years old. Like, this is just so incredible. And at the conference, they said these specific things, right? They said, don't go and tell your friends and family because they're all going to laugh at you. They said these things, right? And so what do you think I did? I came out of the conference and I went and told all my friends and family. And they all laughed at me. And I was like, oh my gosh, these guys at the seminar, they're right. Like, these people that I've grown up with, they're not going to support me. And I remember the seminar guy, bless him, this is like 10 years ago, he said these words. He said, love your family, choose your friends. So I was like, okay, I need to get rid of all of my friends. So I literally just stopped talking to all of my friends. And the next day I just stopped going to university. I dropped out in my final year because I was studying to becoming an investment banker. That's what the line I was going towards. I was studying math, finance, economics, and business at university. And the whole thing was like, you go to school, work hard, get a job, get a 9-to-5, go to Canary Wharf, which is where I live now, and go and get a job in one of these big, massive towers. And so, I joined a bunch of different programs, and I realized it wasn't the programs that was at fault. It was me. I was looking for the next shiny object. I didn't focus on one thing long enough. I didn't develop mastery. And, one of my friends, Mike Dillard, wrote this amazing book, Magnetic Sponsoring. I tell everyone to go and read that book. It changed my life because it taught me that I should become valuable. And as long as I become valuable, the world, and I know how to leverage that, the world will basically, pay me, buy my stuff. I can influence and persuade people to get what I want, but you have to be valuable, right? Otherwise, if you're not valuable, then you're just being a thief, right? So I grasped that concept very early on, and 21 years old, my first year internet marketing, I struggled for a while, about 6 to 9 months, I think. I made about 15K. Then I made $120,000. Then I made $275K. And then I was like, damn, I'm rich. I've got $400,000. And I remember, like, I was so overweight. I had long, greasy hair. And I went to Mayfair and Park Lane. Okay, these are some of the richest places in London. And I was like, this is where I need to hang out. I need to go and make some new friends because I didn't have any friends. So, right, imagine being overweight. You work so hard. You don't have any friends and no social life. And then you have a bunch of money. So I was like, okay, I need to go make some friends. And it took me 8 months, actually. Within 8 months, I had spent all of that money. And I was like, what the heck? And I remember having like minus $500 in my bank account, which was like 286 pounds. I still have a screenshot that I saved it for whatever reasons. It just kind of takes me back. And I remember like thinking to myself, okay, I know how to do email marketing, how to build lists, how to sell on the phone, and I'm going to go next year and I'm going to make a bunch of money. And I wrote down this goal, like, Brian Tracy teaches you write your goals down every day, which is like why I always carry journals and stuff with me. And I wrote down, $1.2 million. Wow, dude, I want to show you something that's just so freaky. You want to see it now or you want to see it later? We'll keep it later, dude. I want to show you afterwards, okay?
Show it now.
So I wrote down $1.2 million and well, I wrote down $1.2 million, and that year, dude, I made $1.2 million. The next year. Dude, I was like, I think I was 23 or 24. I was like really, really young, you know, and that was like 1.2 mil in my bank. And I was like, holy smokes. Like this is crazy, dude. This is crazy. And then we went to 2012, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012. And dude, 2012, I wrote this goal down. Aaron, you want to check this out, dude? This is as real as it gets. Okay, this is literally from 2012. Dude, I don't know if you can take a screenshot of that, but this is from 2012, bro. Okay, I wrote this goal down, and I wrote down goals for 2012. Pray 5 times a day, work out, make $100,000 per month. Okay, for me back then, that was like my biggest goal. This was my goal. Get a new office and hire 4 people. Okay, that's how big I was thinking. And you know, now I've grown that, you know, I had that team to 55 people before I cut down recently. Build 50,000 subscribers. Take my mom to Hajj, which is in Saudi Arabia. Travel to 12 different places. Okay, I thought, you know, if I could travel 12 places in a year, like this is the greatest life ever. I'm on my 3rd or 4th passport right now. 3rd or 4th passport right now. So I've traveled like a gazillion places. Have $100,000 a day. Build my first school. Build a bunch of sites. Buy dad out of this debt I was in. Do my own private event. And I wrote down, I'm 23 years old. So I remember then reviewing this back, right? And thinking, whoa, like this goal setting stuff actually works. Like the more you write down, the more it comes true. This is why, like, I have affirmations that I say in the morning. You know, I've got affirmations on my phone. You know, I've got my goals literally on the back screen of here, on here. You know, I write down, you know, I take pictures and I put it there because this is what I'm trying to hit, you know, and the more I see it, the more real it becomes, you know. So very quickly, I was very fortunate to make my first million at an early age. And, you know, I was also very fortunate, all praise to God. I don't gamble, I don't drink, I don't, you know, do clubs or whatever. And early on, my dad said, son, if you stay away from bad things, you're going to keep your money. And so let's just say, you know, I'm doing all right. And as over the last few years, I've grown. The last campaign I did, which I should say, as I've grown my business, one of the campaigns pulled in $20 million in just 3 short years, selling coaching, consulting, digital products. So, like, I don't know where this interview is going. You can ask me anything. I said I'm...
Okay. So my question to you, right, is because obviously the last backstory, I realized that you didn't even talk about the technical stuff at all. You only spoke about mindset. Do you think that the mindset is far more important than the actual technical stuff?
Oh, yeah, man. It's so crazy. Like, if you said to me, you know, I'm guessing most people that are watching this, like, they know what ClickFunnels is. Like, if you said to me, go into ClickFunnels and set up a squeeze page and set up your autoresponder, which we have like 3 or 4 different services, like Infusionsoft, Kartra, some other stuff, Active Campaign. Like, I would honestly, I have no idea.
Okay.
I would not know, how do you connect lead page, not lead pages. We used to use lead pages back in the day. How do you connect ClickFunnels to your autoresponder account? I have no idea. I just never learned that, right? I just never learned that. I learned that if I understand business principles, then I can grow the businesses. And that's what I've done. I've grown 10 different brands to over 7 figures each, 2 of them to over 8 figures. And really, I just have a few fundamentals and I just stick with the fundamentals. And that's all I focus on. And that's all I care about, because I come from an old school, you know, of Dan Kennedy and Jay Abraham and some of these guys up here, like Dan Pena, Dan Sullivan. I've spent more than $500,000 on my own education.
Yeah.
And the most wealthiest mentors I know, they have no idea about how to do any of this stuff. So I'm not, by the way, I'm not saying that you need to be like that. Like, I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that you shouldn't learn technical stuff, or I think you should learn all of these things so you can be self-sufficient. I just think that if you have money, then you can always have a team member. You know, if you have lots of money, there's this quote by my mentor, Dan Sullivan, and he says, you know, if you have a problem and you have money, and the money buys a solution for the problem, therefore you have no problem. So
Right.
I try to view everything as that. Like right now, I have a problem with, let's just say, Facebook ads. Okay, I know one guy who, you know, I've spent of my own money close to about $2 million cash on Facebook ads. This
Okay.
is like this is not clients' money, that's separate, but this is my own cash for my bank. Um, I would not seriously know how to place a Facebook ad. Now that doesn't mean that I'm not interested. I really want to learn this because I
Mm-hmm.
think it's gonna be fun. And I think that's the wrong word. I know I'm very confident that once I learn Facebook ads, I can drive my company growth way much faster because I'll be in control of the levers of traffic. And
Right.
so I'm excited to learn Facebook ads, by the way.
It's a great skill to have. But question, so you mentioned fundamentals that you stick with, right?
Yeah.
Give us a few fundamentals. I don't want you to give your whole secrets of if you don't want to.
No, I'm cool, man. I give away all my secrets. Someone just has to ask me. You get me talking, and
You
I tell
give us
you
everything, dude. Give us fucking everything.
the same stuff that I give when someone gives me $100,000. If you ask me, I give to you for free. Okay. So God
Let's do
bless you
it.
guys. I'm gonna give it to you. All right. So firstly, how I look at any business, any product, any service is that I look at it from a perspective of an investor. So I'm gonna invest my time, my effort, my energy. All of this stuff is valuable to me. So I put a dollar amount on that. So I put a $5,000 per hour limit value, should I say, on myself. So if I'm doing a podcast, I'm knowing if I'm going to spend an hour, that's worth $5,000. Because in my business, we can grow. Like if I put that focus and I do a webinar, then I can make a lot more from that
Right.
webinar. So you have to work out your value per hour. And when people are starting off, from what I've seen, they don't understand this concept because they're in a job or they come in and they're learning all this stuff, but they don't know how to value their time. And so from an early age, I learned that I should not be cooking, cleaning, doing my paperwork, doing my accounting work, like doing none of that. I have someone that drives me around. I have someone that cleans my house. I have someone that opens my letters, pays my bills. And I've been very fortunate, all praise to God. It's been like that nearly for the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is, when I first started internet marketing, I learned from a mentor of mine. His name is Yannick Silva. I'm not sure if he's retired now. I haven't heard of him for many
The
years.
underground guy.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
he said this concept of like, as soon as you have the money to outsource, pay it. Because your time as an entrepreneur is the highest leverage activity you could do is creative thinking. And so if that means creative thinking, my definition of that is, okay, so what do you apply that creative thinking to? And you apply it to strategy, you apply it to finding new markets, you apply it to identifying your dream 100, you do it where you can do the work once and it has mass leverage. So very quickly, I started putting a dollar per hour value on myself. And I remember like I used to do like one-on-one consulting, right? So I would be like, you pay me. I was really young. I was like, you pay me, I come to you. And my first ever one was this lovely Indian lady. She was a lawyer and she paid me £1,000 for an hour of my time. And I said, hey, I'll meet you in King's Cross, because I thought there's a hotel there. That sounds really wrong. But if you know what King's Cross is. Anyway, so I go to King's Cross and the shop is closed. So I'm like, McDonald's. And I remember sitting there doing this one-on-one consultation in McDonald's, dude. And I said to her, do you want anything? And she goes, I'll have a bag of fries. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm charging someone $1,000. Anyway, so I got that and I realized, wow, someone would give me $1,000 because she saw me as an authority, as someone in the marketplace that she looks up to. Okay, so I was like, okay, cool, I got that. So then what happened was, as I started learning more skills, every year I would increase my prices. And it's not necessarily for anyone else. It's for me. It's for my own self-worth. It's how I view time. It's how I value time. Because if I'm putting a $5,000 per hour activity on an hour value of myself, I'm not going to do something that I can pay someone $100, $200 an hour. Now, most of internet marketing activities could be delegated for 100, 200 bucks an hour. Let's be very real. Okay.
Yeah.
So what are the things that should not be delegated, should not be outsourced? Maybe stuff like this, like obviously podcasts and videos and interviews and speaking on stage and hosting events and going after different markets. That necessarily, you can't just outsource that. So that's how I started. I look at things, the perspective. That's my mindset towards it. Then when I go and identify, like right now, let's just say I want to build this brand or whatever, a brand, let's just say a brand. I would look in the marketplace. I would have a glance at what everyone's doing, not, what the top people are doing. And the top people, for everyone, is different. You might think 100 grand a month is a lot of money. You might think $10,000 is a lot of money. You might think if you can make an extra 100 grand a month, you're sorted. And some people will say $1 million a month, or some people will say $10 million a month. And sometimes you can also think about the companies that are doing $100 million a month. I did an interview. I don't know if you saw it. I posted it on my Facebook recently with Michael Masterson, Mark Ford, and that company, they sell digital, education.
Yeah,
right? They sell courses and Agora Financial, and they do $1.5 billion a year, which is over $100 million a month. So if you want to really think big, Aaron, who's here next to me, he came over and he's like, how does he think big? It's like when you go and spend some time with people like that, these guys are doing $100 million a month selling digital products, newsletters, right? And so how do they do it? What do they do? So once I identify, okay, who's the top people in the marketplace, then I'll say, okay, how do I craft my own blue ocean? How do I come into the marketplace and go after a hyper niche group of people and then become, and this is the important thing, become the authority to them. Okay, this is, in my earliest days, I started off doing business opportunity marketing. I was selling BizOps, I was selling network marketing, online marketing, whatever, like affiliate marketing. And a lot of people bash that, but the honest truth is they bash it because they've never been successful at it. Every single person that will talk bad about a network marketing company or an MLM company, all of that is only because you were crap at marketing and you couldn't market their products and services. That's the real truth. Okay, I don't talk bad about those companies, Now, I don't promote any network marketing companies right now, although my mother-in-law is trying to get me into one, I'm sure. I don't promote any of those, but I love their business model. And, I will never talk bad about that industry because that's the industry that gave me a start. And, I also made my first $1 million from that industry.
That's the greatest part about network marketing, honestly, is the personal development that you get with it. It's like if you do anything else, you don't really get personal development. Like if you're doing affiliate marketing, everyone's so focused on the numbers. No one really cares about personal development like that. But in the network marketing community, everyone's sort of pushing you to get better. They're trying to push you to do things and stuff like that. And it's just interesting. And I think every beginner needs to get started with network marketing to have that sort of edge, right?
Dude, it's all a mindset. Most people, from what I've seen anyway, and my experience, humbly speaking, is honestly, it's just like a mindset. So my mindset towards this whole thing is like, once I find a niche, once I find how do I position myself as an authority, then I will, craft products and services, ideally 3 to 5 products for my integrated product suite, which is basically when someone comes in, they must be able to, progress through the different products and services that I have to offer. Once that happens and that's taken care of, I outline the products. I sell the products before I create them, always. I never do, I don't create a product if no one's going to buy it. So I always sell a product, and then once I collect the cash, and then I'm like, okay, it's going to be worth my time, worth my money. The people want it, then I will go and develop it. Okay. So that's that part. Second thing is I ask myself, how much is once I've planned out, okay, 3 to 5 products, then I ask myself, what's the value? What's the value? What's the lifetime value of this customer? How much can he and she spend when they come into my funnel, when they get introduced to my little world, little bubble, whatever, my products and services, etc., etc. Then what will happen is I will ask myself this question: how much can I spend to acquire each customer? Okay, learn this from Dan Kennedy 101. Okay, how much can you, the person that can spend the most money in the marketplace to get each customer will win the game. If I have a $20,000 back end and Joe Schmo has a $2,000 back end, I can spend a lot more money to get that customer than he can. And
Right.
I got mentorship from a very close friend of mine who was in this industry. He was making more than $100 million a year, and he would have programs that would go up to $100,000. And
Mm-hmm.
he taught me, you know, this is how you position it. This is how you position your offers. This is how you create authority in the marketplace. All of these things. This is how you build a moat, so some, you know, next newbie kid can't come in and funnel hack you, and all of that. And so once I have, you know, a integrated product suite, that's number one. Number two is I figure out how much can I spend to acquire each customer. And then I ask myself,
You do the
okay, where
math.
is this customer?
Okay.
Yeah, I ask myself, where is this customer? Is it on Facebook? Is she on YouTube? Is she on reading newspapers? Because I don't care about the medium. Like, I don't care if it's Facebook, Insta. I just care about, like, where is it going? Like, where is their attention? How can I take their attention and convert them? And, you know, sometimes we'll do, like, I've done everything from, you know, postcards to newspapers to, like, I've done a lot, trade shows and all of that in between. So that's my 3-step process for that. How I make myself unique and different and better than everyone else is I will incorporate a big idea, my own personal stories. You know, you can't funnel hack the fact that I've spent $500,000 on my own education, right? That's my own unique story. So I actually teach this in my programs at Wealth Academy. Your unique story framework. Your unique story framework is what makes you unique in the marketplace. So then you become almost like there's no competition because there's only just one of you, right? Like if you think about Brendan Bouchard, you don't say, oh yeah, I'm going to choose Brendan Bouchard over Tony Robbins. Most likely you'll go to both of them, okay? Or if you don't like Tony, you just go to Brendan.
Yeah.
So it's because of his stories that he's hammered into the marketplace, the big ideas, the angles that he's come up with. Dan Pena has been teaching high performance for decades, you know, but Brendan Bouchard has probably a much larger following, larger influence than Dan. And the reason is because of how Brendan positioned it through stories, through marketplace leadership, through giving value content and all of those things.
Okay.
So that's kind of how I look at, you know, that aspect. And then, yeah.
Okay, I got a quick question, right? So, okay, so what you just described to me is that number one, you find a niche that's profitable, obviously. You position yourself as an expert. You put your own products out there. You conquer the niche. It's essentially the plan, right? But what do you think separates someone like you from someone that's just getting started and, you know, even trying to do the same thing, not even just getting started, but someone trying to do the same exact thing but keeps failing? What do you think you're doing right that most people are doing wrong, if that makes sense?
Yeah. Okay. So basically, in terms of, you know, and again, it's all different, right? But I'm going to give you a couple of pointers from what I've seen, because I've coached a few people in my life, is that one, they don't want it bad enough. And because they don't want it bad enough, they sacrifice their time, effort, energy with shiny object syndrome. I don't know if you know, in the last 24 hours, I just installed the Facebook app on my phone. I haven't had the Facebook app maybe for like 3-4 years. Like I don't use social media on my phone. Okay. I actually don't even have, I installed Instagram today. I don't have Instagram. I have someone on my team. They have Instagram. Okay. And so they will bring the phone and they will do the stories and stuff. Okay. So it's not like I'm on. No, I post the content, but I'm not going to be sucked into this. Anyway, yesterday I got sucked into this Facebook app, right? And whilst I'm on the Facebook app, I was going into the ClickFunnels group, and I just went in very innocently trying to look for a designer. And I see this guy, I'm not going to mention his name, but he writes this post, you know, how do I make a quick 100 grand to $1 million in the next like 90 days or something like really ridiculous. And like you can see people are just bashing him. People are like, focusing on it. But I get where he's coming from. And usually I just ignore these things because, like whatever, you figure it out, okay?
Right.
But I just saw his name and I just thought to myself, man, I feel like I know him. And I feel like 10 years ago, he was very kind to me. And I don't know if he was or not. I don't even know who he was, okay? But I don't know, it was like his name. And then I was like, is this the guy from Las Vegas? Do I know him like 10 years ago? Why is he asking this damn basic newbie question 10 years later? So I go in and I write this humongous post on like what I would do. How would I go and make $1 million in 3 months? Because I've done it, multiple times. I've done it in a single month, right? So it's not like I don't know how to do it. And I said like, it's not gonna be easy, but it's also not impossible because it can be done. And here's a couple of guidelines. And I like really wrote this post out, and then I was like, okay, I don't know if that was the best use of my time for 40 minutes. And then I just like, I went to sleep.
Well, I do hope it helped a bunch of people, so it's kind of worth it.
Oh, I woke up this morning and a bunch of people, messaged me saying, hey, thanks a lot for that. And I really just wanted to help that one individual. I didn't really care about everyone else in that moment, right? So a whole bunch of people messaged me and stuff. He also messages me back. And he's like, okay, man, just tell me one thing I need to focus on. And that's the issue. That's the issue. It's like, you see, and I think it's like people aren't clear, and then they don't have respect for a mentor, or when they listen to a mentor, or they have too much ego, or they have too much limiting beliefs and stories in their head. It's like I gave him the action plan, right? Like I didn't hold anything back. You know what I mean? So why is he messaging me with the one thing he needs to be done? Like I gave it to him. So and I'm not saying I'm better than everyone else or anyone for that matter. Okay, I believe we're all equal. Some people are just a little bit better in different areas, and I happen to be just better in just one area, which is business. All other areas of my life, I'm trying to figure it out. And so when I look at that and I compare that to myself, when one of these mentors tell me to do something, I don't say, okay, tell me one more thing. What software do I need to do? I'm like, okay, I'll get it done, right? Like, hey, like make these 5 videos and this is the topics it needs to be. Okay, I know I'm going to fail and I'm going to mess up and most likely it's going to be crap, right? But I'm still going to do it, right? I'm still going to do it. So same way, when I did my first ever webinar, I was like that newbie, I tried so hard, man. I tried so hard. And then I got 7 people on the webinar and I was like over the moon. And then the webinar starts and I'm like, oh shit, I didn't prepare. So I'm like doing this webinar and I'm like, I'm like really overweight. And I was in the basement in a place called Brick Lane, my dad's friend's state agent underneath, and dude, I was like sweating and every other word from my mouth was ha. And then I talked for like 2 hours and then I was just like, I'm never doing a webinar ever again. And in that moment, I realized, okay, that's something I'm afraid of. I must do. I must become better at, and I must develop the skills. And so guess what I did? I went and practiced and did like 50 webinars. And then I did one webinar and I had no idea. Honestly, I thought, if I make 5 or 10 sales, an extra 50, 100 grand, I'd be happy. I sold 120 units at 10 grand a pop. And I'm like, whoa, that's just like, wait, that's not 120 grand. I just made $1.2 million, right? And I had just moved into this penthouse here in Canary Wharf. And I was like, guys, I just made what the heck, like it was so mind blowing.
Okay.
And I realized, why that happened is because I put in the practice. So a lot of the times people just they're not in love with the game. So they don't put practice. They're not passionate about it. They're thinking too short term. So that's why, for like funnels. So I was selling done for you funnels way back before ClickFunnels and stuff, right? As soon as ClickFunnels launched, you know, I spent close to, let's just say, 6 figures, you know, buying up all the best domains I could. You know, that's why I own salesfunnels.com, I own funnels.com, and a whole bunch of other domains. But I saw, you know what, I'm actually going to be in this industry for the next 10, 20 years. Let me go and buy something that will go up in value, or that's very rare and no one else can have it. Does that make sense? So I think a lot of the times people aren't doing what they know they should be doing is because of fear, failure, limiting beliefs, and the disempowering stories that they tell themselves. Because the stories is what holds them back. If you can, you know, divorce these stories, get rid of these stories, then you own your power. I mean, when you tell yourself that you take responsibility, like on the back of my phone, I've got my income goals, but I also have the first sentence is I am responsible for everything. So when I wake up and I'm gonna check my phone, or I try not to do that for the first few hours, but when I do look at my phone, I'm like, I'm responsible for everything. So when you say you're responsible for everything, you start having more courage to do the things that you know you need to do. The fear disappears. Brian Tracy did this experiment, literally, that took a lot of time. Like he went to like thousands of books and every single thing, and he found out that the root cause that holds people back is negativity. But that negativity comes because people aren't taking responsibility. Even today, I was reading some stuff from the Quran, and you know, the Quran is like 1400 years old. And guess what? In the Quran it says, for a man to change, I'm butchering the words, forgive. I'm butchering the words, but this is what he said. He said something along the lines of, for a man to have courage, they must first take responsibility. Like you can't be in victimhood. A lot of the times when you see people, anyway, I'm ranting, carry on. Next question.
Yeah. So my question is, so you obviously had a streak of bad webinars, right? Webinars where you basically, how many webinars did it take for you to finally start getting a good number of sales? Like how much practice did you do?
Maybe 5 or 10, probably. I don't know, 10.
Geez, okay. So you did 10 webinars and then you started getting good after that.
Yeah, I basically, I started building a list, and I never would promote anyone's offers, and I still really don't. So I promote my own stuff. I survey my list, wherever the problems are, I come up with this, product or service for them. And so what had happened was there was this guy called John Sugar, and John had this program, and he basically said, hey, do you want to promote it? And I was like, no, I don't want to promote it. But this guy was just like so friendly towards me. Like he added so much value to my life. And I just thought he was just like this normal guy. Okay. I had no idea. I had like no idea who he was. He actually was a huge mentor. And I realized afterwards that he's like this big 8-figure marketer.
Dang.
But when he was like, he would talk to me like nearly every single day. Like he would give me insights and tips and, whatever. He would just advise me. He'd always be someone who's like be very supportive. But I didn't know he was like this big, really 8-figure, very well-known marketer. And so one day he approaches me, he's like, hey, you want to promote my webinar? I'm like, okay, cool. Let's do this webinar. I don't want to do it, but let's do it. And we do the webinar. And I told my team that they need to host it. Last minute, I just backed out. Okay. That's the honest truth. And I know, because I was traveling. I was going to James Schramko event. James Schramko is another amazing, awesome marketer that transformed my life and my business. And so I'm going to Sydney, Australia. I'm in Sydney, Australia. I land. It's like 4 a.m. and my team messages me saying, hey, the webinar starts in 2 hours. You need to stay awake and do the webinar. And I'm like, what? Damn. I'm like, okay. So very reluctantly, I do this webinar. As I do the webinar, I realized that because I had this really good bond with my email list, they trusted me. A bunch of people joined the webinar. It was their program. Whilst they were doing the program, I made up a bunch of bonuses, whilst on another slides, and then I presented it, and we did like $58,000. And I was like, holy smokes, man. This was like my first outside JV. It was like a $2,000 or a $1,500 program. Okay. And we made like 58, we made like 60 grand. The next morning, he sends me a message and he's like, yo, you got to hit the replay. I'm like, there's no way. I'm not going to send this replay. I'm going to piss people off. Like, I can't do that. He's like, no. This is called the follow-up sequence. I was like, what do you mean follow-up sequence? You know, I'm not going to email my subscribers anymore. So I'm like, okay, I sent one out. And I remember I pulled in like more than $50,000. And I was like, guys, you don't have to tell me. Like for the next 2 weeks, I like promoted every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of that campaign, I made $321,000 in sales. And I never forget that number, right? Because it was like this specific number. And I was like,
and you didn't even want to do it. You didn't even.
I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it. And I was like, wow, like 320K of a webinar. It wasn't even my product. Like I didn't even want to do it. I'm not even good at these things. And then I realized, wow, if I could do that. And so I got really good at doing automated webinars and whatnot, you know.
Okay, so dude, I have a question for you, right? And so over the years, you obviously encountered major failures, major setbacks, right? So what are the three biggest failures that you've encountered that were just huge for you, you know?
Okay, so yeah, you know, it's funny because I've failed a gazillion times. I'm always failing, but I don't really look at it as failure. I look at them as learning curves that I can, you know, like everyone's going to fail. Everyone's going to have things that don't work out. Like your campaigns won't work out. Like that's the truth. Like it doesn't matter how good you are. You know, when I used to do solo ads, I used to spend 10 grand and I used to make $50,000 to $100,000 a week back.
Damn.
Okay. I killed it. I mean, I killed it. Like I went from like 0 to like 30 grand a month to 300 grand a month to 600 grand a month in like whatever, 2-3 years. Okay. So I cleaned it up. I mean, we were making crazy, but that then dies down. So have you failed at that? No, you've just learned. Now, what happens with most people is when something that doesn't work out, like I remember, and the reason why I say this is because when I got started in 2009, I used to look up to these gurus, and these gurus were making $50,000, $100,000 a month from something called Google Pay-Per-Click, PPC. And I was like, I'm jumping on the bandwagon, and I signed up for my account. And the first day I signed up for it, Google slaps me, and I'm like, guys, I got Google slapped. I'm like, my life is over as an internet marketer. How am I going to run traffic? Like they said that all the traffic is in Google, and Google writes you this horrible letter saying you can't advertise. And I was like, this is my life over. And so what happened was I saw, even during that time, dude, all of these biggest name guys, they just disappeared. And I was like, whoa, like they just disappeared and they quit. Like, I don't know what they did. Maybe they got a job or something. And I was like, I could never be that guy. Okay, so I got to keep moving. So every single time something that doesn't work out, I got to keep moving. I've had some, I don't know if they're huge failures. I've had some surprise blunders.
Okay.
Okay, so one is I didn't know anything about taxes. I thought, I don't need to pay taxes. Why do I need to pay taxes? Like, it's my freaking money. Why do I need to pay it? Like, I'm a business owner, and I'm like, I'm in this country. I'm like, Americans, they got to pay taxes. I don't know why I thought that. It was like really stupid. Anyway, so one day I get this message call from my assistant, and she's like, yo, you owe VAT. I'm like, what's VAT? She's like, VAT. I'm like, yeah, but do I have to pay that? I'm like, can you hire someone and reduce it? She's like, no. Like this is the Queen's money. You got to pay them. I'm like, how much is it? She's like, 450,000 pounds. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's like more than 600 G's. So that was a big one. Another mistake was, I had...
Not to interrupt, but quick question. How long did it take you to pay that off? I mean, did you put it on savings? Did you do a webinar?
No, I had the money to pay it off, very like...
Good, okay. Thank
God, I had saved a few mil. I had saved 2.5 million or something. I was 24, 25. So this was good 5 years.
A few years after you started making millions. Cool.
Yeah. Like I said, I didn't splash out. I don't splash. I might have some luxurious things, but I keep everything minimal now.
Okay.
There's just this nice fancy penthouse, but nothing else. I'm all business class and stuff. Well, I was spending a lot. I used to spend about 20, 30 grand a month just on flights.
Okay.
And then my younger brother joined my team, and he wanted to also fly business, you know. And when you're spending a lot of money like that, like he would go to Hong Kong business class, come back, business class, and then he'd want to go somewhere else business. It adds up. And so I was like, okay, cool. Anyway, we're not going to talk about it, but
yeah,
we spent a lot of money. We spent a lot of money when I was younger. Now I'm married. I've grown up. So that was a surprise tax bill, and the reason why I still count it as a big, I don't know if it's a failure but big lesson, is because that also knocks a lot of people down. You know what I mean? Because they don't anticipate these things. When I paid Tony Robbins, I was part of his Platinum Partnership, Business Mastery. That's a $10,000 event. I've been to like a gazillion Tony Robbins events. When I was at one of his $10,000 events or like 15 grand events, it was like lots of dancing and stuff. But the biggest lesson I got was the person that wins in the game is the person that anticipates. Anticipation is the greatest unfair advantage you can have in business. So he hammered that, right? So I was like, damn, why didn't I anticipate that? And then I remember going through Joe Polish's Genius Network Mastermind, right? So he has a high-level mastermind. And I was going through, and in one of the trainings, he mentioned is like, when you become rich and successful, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when someone will come and steal from you. And I remember like watching that video, looking at Joe and thinking to myself, Joe, I like you, man. I have a lot of love for you, but I'm way too smart. That shit ain't gonna happen to me. Sorry for swearing. Okay. I was like, that's not gonna happen to me. 2 weeks later, I have one of my employees literally calls me up and tells me that he's taking like 60 grand because he felt like he was owed, which, it's just like, the first thing he said is, you're not gonna understand. And I didn't understand. During a period of, I'd say about a year or maybe 18 months, I had, including bad investments that I had made, because I also go into the startup world, right? So I was like, oh, wow, this is cool. I'm Uncle Shaq. Who needs money? So I take $1 million cash from one of my banks, and I'm like, I'm going to go and I'm going to invest in the next Uber, next Apple. Like, this is how I'm going to make 100 million.
Okay.
And I didn't understand about protecting your downside, risk management, portfolio allocation, diversification, different asset class. I didn't understand none of that. I was like, I learned something from Tim Ferriss. He talked about this, and I read the stuff that I wanted to read, and I didn't read the last part, which basically said, be prepared to lose all of that money. I just didn't read that last sentence. Last week, I read that article, and I remember thinking, this is the article I read all those years ago. And right at the bottom, and he said, only be prepared to lose, what you can. And I was like, that's the sentence I didn't read, man. And so
$1 million because of one sentence you didn't read.
Yeah. I basically, like, I went and invested in probably 20, 30 different startups. I've invested like 25 grand a pop all the way up to 100 grand. Then my biggest one was like $600,000. That was like crazy. I was like, oh my gosh, what's an IPO? Holy smokes, we're gonna go IPO. Like, and they basically said, you're never gonna lose this money. I thought, I'm not gonna lose this money. I wanna go IPO, baby. We're gonna be on NASDAQ and all of this stupid shit, and that was like I put in 600K in that one. So like that's,
how long ago was this? When was this?
I was 27, maybe a few years ago.
Okay.
26, 27. I invested 26.
Dang, so how much money did you make back from all of the startups? Are any of
zero. No, the startups all failed. I mean, look, there's one or two, Jonathan Budd, he's one of my friends. He runs power.com. That's still running. That's a startup. But there was like so many others, dude, that they gave me a big fat zero. So between that and a few employees that had stolen a bunch of money, which I forgive them all, there was probably around just under 1.5 million that I lost.
But I mean,
So
the greatest part about you and your story, honestly, that you kept moving forward. Like there's nothing that could literally stop you, right? So
Dude, I'll give you an example, right? I was, and I'm not saying this is going to be for everyone, but I'm just putting things in perspective for me. I was telling one of my guys, I said, no, what had happened was I lost my Facebook account, right? Like with 20,000 people on there. And, it took me like 10 years to build. And out of nowhere, one guy, I'm not going to mention his name, but one guy who owed me 250 grand, he sends me a message. And he says something from his heart, really deep. And I just replied back to him and I said, you know what? Don't worry, man. Like, I forgive you as a Muslim. I want God to forgive me. Don't worry, bro. Like, much love. Let's catch up soon. And he just wrote, I love you, man. And I could almost feel his energy. It just sounds woo, but I could just feel like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. But how good must he feel? Because him and I were close, and then he didn't pay me my 250 grand. You know what I mean? Like, that's a nice chunk of change. He didn't pay me that money that I was rightfully owed, because I was trying to support him. He had a big company. He was like losing, he needed money. So I was like, okay, 250 grand, like, keep it. And with the intention of paying me back, which he didn't. He didn't. And so I forgive him and stuff. And I was telling my video guy, I said, okay, these are the things that we need to do. And we had worked out all of this, right? And I just started laughing, man. I just started laughing because once upon a time, that was a huge amount of money for me. Okay, it's still a decent amount of money. Now, let's just say $1 million, plus has gone away. But I'm still here. I still have access to the internet. I still got a place to pray. I still got food. I still got my team, a handful of my team members. I still have, the ability to put myself out there. I still have my books. These books have a lot of knowledge. These courses, they have, and I'm like, and I just started laughing.
You have the skills to make the money back. So that's perfect.
I have the skills, and I just feel an immense feeling of gratitude, like I'm feeling right now. So what's the lesson here? The lesson is these things will always happen, good, bad, ugly. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how bad things get. If you keep focusing on the future and what you have right now, you like people. I think people don't really get this part. You getting it? Is this making sense to you though? By the way, all of this stuff.
It is. It totally is.
You see, my dad. Like my dad came to this country, right? And I remember he said to me, son. I said, Dad, I don't really like this whole education thing, the school, college, university thing. I don't want to be like everyone else. Because everyone in my family, God bless them all, they're very highly educated. They went to, university and they got the degrees and whatever, right? Like I'm the only one that didn't get it. And then I took my younger brother out of college as well. And I remember telling him, and he said, son, anyone can come to this country and they work just 10, 15 years and they can become a millionaire. And I remember thinking to myself, okay, Dad, you know what? You could do that. And you didn't even have Tony Robbins, or you didn't have someone giving you a blueprint or a freaking course. You know what I mean? Like they had to, my parents, my mom and dad had to work really hard, making skirts, getting punched in the face. Literally, my dad was like bullied when he came here because he was like a brown kid, in like the population is everyone's white. He was like racially attacked and all of this stuff. And so he grew up with that. And so then he's telling me this, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, if you walk out in London, dude, everyone's like brown, white, black, like Arab, whatever. Like there's so many different, but he's like, it was only 20, 30 years ago. It was completely different. And he instilled so many valuable lessons. I'm going to give you one of these lessons because it really speaks true. 10 years ago, he said to me, when I started making money, and I would tell him that I'm making, 50 grand a month, 100 grand a month, 500 grand a month, $1 million a month, $100,000 days. Some weekends I'd make $300,000, 600,000. Like we're doing very little work or doing like nearly nothing because I have a team and they do these campaigns and events and whatever, right? And so he said to me, son, just remember, it's going to move so fast that you don't know what's going to happen. And some kid in India is going to have access to the same thing. And let me tell you right now, like it don't matter what country you're in. If you're watching this and you don't know how to run traffic, how to build a team, how to make money online, how to put a message out there, there are kids in all parts of the world that are so much more hungrier than you. And they're going to come and kick your butt. And that's the truth. Okay. My best staff members, guess what? They're Indians. Okay. They're from India. They live in India. Well, my tech guy, who now runs his own tech firm, he was with me for nearly 4 or 5 years. He's from Pakistan. Guess what? He knows how to build funnels. You understand? So once upon a time, you were so special because you had these marketing abilities, but now every Tom, Dick, and Harry and everyone has this. Now, I don't know if you know some of these initiatives that one of them that, what's his name? Mark Zuckerberg, Dr. Peter Diamandis, they're doing is stuff like they can send humanless planes, so like drones, to different parts of the world, like say like Amazon or places in Africa or in India, like remote places. And these planes would basically give people Wi-Fi. Now think about how much hungry those people are. And when they get Wi-Fi, they're going to be working. You understand? Like they're going to be, it's crazy because I just employed this kid, this young kid from India who's like helping us with our, we have an e-commerce division, and he's helping us with like Shopify and all of this stuff. And someone asked in my team, interviewed him, hired him, blah, blah, blah. And I said to him, hey, like, what's the kid's results? Because he's a young kid, like probably 19, 20 years old. Mm-hmm. And he said, oh, he's made like 75 grand. And I thought, 75 grand in UK is a lot of money for the average Joe person, okay? Average Samantha or average Tony.
Is it 75 grand a month or a year?
In a year.
Oh, yeah, that's
75 grand. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, this Indian kid has made like probably more money than people that have studied and gone and got degrees. So everything's changing. Like if you're not going to take action on building your business, learning about marketing, digital marketing and sales funnels and all of this stuff, I don't know what's going to happen. This is why I'm going to run Facebook ads.
Yeah, the way that I look at it, right, is that there's so much opportunity and it's available for everyone freely now, right? Like 7 years ago, it was way too harder for you to even get traffic, right? And then you had the whole Facebook boom. You could pretty much advertise anything on Facebook. Bunch of people made a lot of money with it. The rest of the guys still lived in fear. The same guys that lived in fear back in 2013, they're still living in fear now. It's just weird, right? And fun story about the college thing. So you got your brother out of college too?
Yeah, I got my brother, one day he I must have been like making my first 7 figures or something. And one day we're walking down the street and he looks at me and he goes, you know what? Dude, he was 15 years old. He goes to me, I never want to have a job where I'm getting paid less than 300 grand a year. And I just looked at him and my initial thought was like, what are you talking about? But the thought I had on my face was, what I said to him was, that's your standard. And don't ever lower it for anyone.
Yeah.
And dude, he joined my team. He helped me make, I don't know, $6-7 million. He's doing all right for himself.
I gotta say, right? So the first time I actually came in contact with your team was when I tried to buy solo ads. So I went to solo ad agency. I booked a call because back then you guys were doing application calls. I met this guy. His name was Sam Mahmood Ahmed. I think that was his name. So good friend of mine, great guy, and I got on a call with him. One of the nicest guys ever, helped me out a lot. And at the end of the call, we're talking about the whole college situation, right? And he's like, your first goal should be to make enough money and then just quit college or quit school, and I'm like, that is a good idea. 6 months later, I dropped out, man. I hit my first six figures. Yeah, I hit my first 6 figures at 16. So basically my dad died and then I had to make money. So now I was working like 16, 18 hours a day, and I made my first 6 figures. I just dropped out. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to school no more. And I called Sam, right? I'm like, yo, I just dropped out. The guy's like, oh, congrats. So that's just awesome, man. Because I remember him telling me that you probably dropped out too. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I dropped out. He also dropped out. He came to me and he couldn't speak proper English. And so I trained him up to speak on the phones and, closing the phones. He actually started off.
He was the nicest guy ever.
Yeah, he started off literally coming to my office, making everyone tea, hoovering the floor. Within 12 or 18 months, he had out-earned everyone.
Oh yeah.
because he came in and he started realizing, I should just learn sales, and then let me just get closing on the phone, and then let me just get paid on commission. And he just like, he took off. He took off.
Yeah, I can tell. I mean, he was also he kind of reminds me of Blake Newbar in a way, right? Like Blake Newbar too. Like you ever talk to him? Like he's just like the most, empathetic person of some sort. And yeah, I think that's something that really helps these guys too. But you, on the other hand, it's like I feel like you have so much value to share, and you also share a bunch of value, but you don't even expect anything in return. Like you just want people to make
Yeah, this
money. Yeah.
a long time ago, I learned
Hmm.
if you can do that, if you can genuinely give value with the expectation that you're not going to get anything in return, and I credit that to lots of different mentors I had early on. I'm talking about 10 years ago, James Altucher, all of these guys. And
Hmm.
I learned a lot from that. I just learned a lot from that. And it's still a part of all of my marketing messages. Even on this video, like, I don't care if there's one person watching, or 100 people, or 1,000 people, or 10,000 people, or if someone paid me 100 grand, I'm going to deliver like whatever is asked of me. And I want to always make sure that comes across. You know what I mean? And obviously, if you do enough good, that's the thing with, giving without expecting anything back in return, is once you do that and you get into the habit of doing it, it's almost like you become a magnet, and you just attract the right opportunities, you attract the right partners, you attract the money. Like I always tell my team, and I'll end on this because I have to actually go. I have another two
Yeah.
more to
Yeah.
do.
I was about to ask the last where can they find you question,
Yeah.
but yeah.
So I tell you this, right? Like when
Hmm.
someone says to me, "Oh, I want to make 100 grand a month," or "I want to become a millionaire,"
Hmm.
I always say to them, you should focus on attracting it. And when you replace the word attract with make, something I learned from Dan Kennedy, you know,
Hmm.
normal people go and work hard for money or go and earn money. You don't want to be that. You want to be the person that attracts it. And when
Hmm.
I think about how do I attract, $30 million this year or whatever, yeah,
Hmm.
I think of, okay, if I'm going to attract it, who do I need to become? And one of the things that I realize is I share, say, valuable stuff at my conferences, events, my webinars. However, I don't do it on podcasts and videos and YouTube. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to go and do this, and I'm going to do it to the extreme, to whatever I can push towards. So
And
that's basically it, man. If you can cultivate a mindset of that, where you're learning skills, and I call them stacking skills. If you can stack so many different skills, like I might not know how to do Facebook ads, which I'm going to learn, but I know how to write emails, I know how to do webinars, I know how to speak on stage, I know how to sell from stage, I know how to put events together, masterminds together, I know how to put $10,000 offers all the way up to $200,000 offers together. And because I've stacked those skills one on top of another, now we can
at this
do
point,
lots of good stuff.
at this point, you just attract the success, right? So it's
Yeah.
just you got the skills together. Now you're just like a magnet for it. But okay, so I'm just gonna give another brief intro, guys, because you got to know who he is. And I'm just gonna repeat it again. So Shaqir has built 10 different seven-figure brands, 2 to over 8 figures each, 750,000 subscribers. Yeah, that's 750,000 subscribers. Traveled 80 plus countries. Dude, I could go on and on about your achievements, man. It's like I could get a whole list, just read it. Oh, Shaq did this back in
You
the
don't
day.
you don't need to.
So,
You don't need to.
yeah, so where can people find you, bro? Where can people
Yeah,
find you? Where
just
can people learn from
easiest way. I'm on Instagram and everything on at Shaqir Hussyin. If you go to Shaqir.com, and everyone wants to always join my list and stuff. So go to funnels.com. Okay,
you?
I'm sure you know how to spell that. Just go to funnels.com, and it's going to take you to a page. You can register, join. There's a lot of people that get my daily emails every single day, and so
Mhm.
I'd love for you to be part of the community. So go ahead and make sure you take action or something.
I guess. So go to funnels.com, follow him on Shakir.com too, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and how do they get on your email list? At Shakir.com?
Just go to any of the websites. You'll find
Okay,
it. There's always opt-in boxes.
yeah, go sign up to his email list, guys. Great guy. I've known him for years. Very legit guy. Very honest. And yeah, with that said, this has been a fun interview, bro. This has been fun. Hope to see you again soon. No,
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Hey, thanks a lot for your time. Ace.
for sure, dude. One sec.